Hey everyone, it's me Erica, and I decided to do something a little bit different this year. Instead of doing January wrap-ups, I've seen a lot of people do just recent reads, and I thought that was a really cool idea. So I am going to be doing that, especially since I don't read too many books during the month. I will definitely have 4 or more books in each, so it won't be like 1 or 2 books like it would be at the end of a monthly wrap-up for myself. So yeah, let's just get right into it. The first book I read this year was Uprooted by Naomi Novik, and this was so good. I tabbed so many places in here. This book is a standalone fantasy, and it was just so magical. It takes place in this world where there is this haunting woods, and it takes people and it just keeps encroaching on the nearby towns. So to keep the villages safe, the king instills this wizard called the dragon to keep watch over the towns and to keep the woods at bay. And every 10 years, the dragon chooses a girl to go and live with him, and no one really knows what's going on with that. They think she might be a servant of some type for him. And we follow our main girl, Agnieszka, who just happens to fall in one of the 10 years that the dragon chooses a girl to go and live with him. So we follow her story. It definitely follows more her than the dragon, even though the synopsis kind of comes across as it following the main wizard. But even though there's a lot of him in the book, it's definitely more of Agnieszka's story, and I love how much friendship there is and how the undercurrents of a slow building romance, and I just love the magical wood and how Naomi Novik writes the story. It was definitely very fairy tale-esque. I am just so impressed with this because it is standalone, but the world just seems very well built in my opinion, and the story was very well paced, and this is definitely going to be one of my favorites this year. I gave it 4.5 stars. There was one spot where I was like, okay, we can move a little faster pacing wise, but that is seriously it, and I just love all the characters in this book. Obviously there were so many places that I just loved. If you have not picked this book up, I definitely recommend it if you like fantasy or kind of that fairy tale feeling in a story. I definitely would pick this one up. So the next book I read was The Sea of Monsters by Riordan. This is the second book in the Percy Jackson and the Olympian series. Finally, I have read the second book, and I thought it was really action-packed for sure. I really enjoyed getting more of the characters and getting back into this world of demigods and goddesses. I definitely liked all the creatures that the characters encountered in this story. My favorite was definitely the sirens, and I just really thought it was a really fun book. I gave this 3 stars out of 5. I definitely enjoyed it, but there was a really big difference with Rick Riordan's writing between his action writing and his downtime. Even though this is a really short book and it was really action-packed, I felt like when there was a little bit of downtime, I was really bored and I was just waiting for another action scene to happen. And luckily those came up often, but it was just such a big difference that it was weird, you know what I mean? Like, his action scenes were so good, but his kind of downtime just with the characters, maybe traveling between 2 points in the story, just dragged for me, and they weren't even that long. So I thought that was kind of a problematic area in this book, and hopefully that will not happen in his other books. But yeah, that was my big issue with this book, so yeah, 3 out of 5 stars. The next book I read this year so far is Me Before You by Jojo Moyes, and if you cannot tell by the immense amount of tabs in this book, I thoroughly enjoyed it. This is about this man who used to have a really amazing life until he got in a motorcycle accident which left him paralyzed from, I guess, the shoulder-ish neck down, so he's quadriplegic, and obviously he needs someone to take care of him. So this girl comes along to be his caretaker, and that's pretty much where the story takes off. They both have really different lives from each other. He used to have a really big life, and she is just happy with her small life, and they kind of encourage each other to look on the brighter side of their situation. He encourages her to live bigger like he did, and it's just such a beautifully heartbreaking story. I cried my eyes out at the end. It was a tad predictable once you find out what's going on with one of the characters. And so I gave it 4.5 stars. I only knocked it down half a star because the plot is really not the point of this book. Yes, it's predictable about halfway through, but it's about the characters and it's about their story and how they inspire each other. I cannot wait for the movie. I think Sam Claflin is going to do an amazing job as Will, right? Yeah, Will. I think Jojo Moyes did a really good job at handling a controversial topic in this book. I'm not going to say what it is because I do think that's a spoiler, but if you read it, you know what I'm talking about. And I think she does a very good job at offering counter views to the subject, and I think she did a really interesting job where it still leaves you to give your own opinion in the story, and I think that's really important. And I think that was really bold of her to write a book like this, and she really pulled it off. The characters were so lovely, and this book really made an impact on me, and I think everyone should definitely read it if you're into romance or just want a deeply emotional book. This is definitely one to pick up. And definitely check out the trailer. I'll leave it linked down below. It just looks so cute, and I really cannot wait. And the last book I'm going to talk about that I've read recently is Clockwork Prince by Cassandra Clare. This is the second book in the Infernal Devices trilogy. This one was a lot more character driven than I thought it would be. I thought it would have a lot more action in it, and I think that was kind of a bad thing, but also I really enjoyed how much character development and background story and just changes in the plot line that we got and how much we've learned from this installment. But I definitely think the action aspect was definitely stalled, and this book did feel like a holdover between the first and the last one, but we definitely did learn some really, really important things in this book, and you just grow to love the characters so much more, and everything just makes a lot much more sense to how the characters act. I still prefer Jem to Will, but you know, I'm getting nervous, so who knows what will be in stall for the third book. Obviously, those of you who have read it know. I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I seriously cannot wait to read on. When I go home, I will definitely bring the next one back to me here to college. I think I am enjoying this series a lot better than the Mortal Instruments. I just love the characters. I think they all are so unique and just have their own personality and own background story that is really prominent in these books, and I feel like in the ones that I've read of the other series, that's not the case. But yeah, one thing that I noticed in this book is that Cassandra Clare brings up the word gray a lot, and I'm really curious to know what that means, because Tessa's last name is Gray, the London sky is always gray, and a lot of the characters constantly wear gray. So I was thinking if it's not like, not everyone's just good, not everyone's just bad, there's kind of like that gray area, but I don't really see that as being a prominent theme in this trilogy, at least not yet. So that's kind of interesting thing that I noticed about this book in particular. So these are all of the books I've read so far this year, and I have tabbed so much. So far this year I have read Uprooted, The Sea of Monsters, Me Before You, and Clockwork Prince. And I think my year has really started off great, and I cannot wait to see what other books I come across. I will see you guys in my next video. Hope you all are having a wonderful week.